What is going on, guys? Houndlander Gaming here, and today I have done something a bit different. I have gone and found some of the biggest RTS fans that I know, and I've asked them some questions about the genre. Currently we have to go back around 15 years to play some of the best RTS games, and that clearly shows that there's a problem for me. So get involved in the comment section, let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the takes in this video. The links will be in the description for all the content creators taking part today. If you enjoy what any of them are saying, please go and check them out. And I can't thank you all enough for taking part in this. Hopefully we can shine some light on the RTS genre, because it certainly deserves it.
Hello everyone, Dynamite Harry here. Thank you very much, Hound, for inviting me onto your channel to answer some questions about RTS games. This actually is a long story, but I'm going to shorten it down for you guys. Back when I was probably about 12 or 13, I used to go around to my nan's house where my mum was working. My uncle used to have a laptop that he used to leave there, and on it was a really brilliant game which I still actually own to this day. I went and obviously bought it for myself. Cossacks European Wars. If you've not played any of the Cossacks games, I highly recommend it. It came out in November 2000, so almost 25 years ago. I still find it great to go back and play. It's almost like Napoleonic. You've got, you know, your musket rifles, cannons. You have to build your city like that, build your armies up, but honestly, and there's sailing in it, so you can go and play, you know, against a big map with sea and everything like that. I think it's such a great game, and they're available on GOG to go and play, so if you haven't played it, go and play it. But that's really where my love for RTS games come from, was being able to play Cossacks, and fully enough knowing the cheat to get me unlimited money, so which was great.
I would say my journey as an RTS fan was back in 2009 when I was only 12. So I was a baby, and it was at my mate's house, and we literally just finished school, and it was Halo Wars just came out, and me and him were big Halo fans, and he got the game as a birthday present, so he wanted to show me this cool game, and it was absolutely mental. Bear in mind, I'm a big Halo fan myself. I absolutely love the franchise, but not Halo 4 and onwards, and it was literally just back then, like back in the time of Halo Wars just came out, and that was when my true RTS sort of fanboy sort of addiction came into play, really.
It was when I was quite young, so I can't be certain, but it was either KKND or Command & Conquer, and then from there I was just really hooked on them.
My journey as an RTS fan began in the mid-90s when I purchased a copy of Command & Conquer. That was my first introduction to RTS games. Ironically, I didn't actually buy the PC version of Command & Conquer. I bought the Sega Saturn version of Command & Conquer, which came on 2 discs. This is interesting because most people associate RTS games with PCs, whereas my first experience of RTS games was actually on a console.
Alright, Houndlander Gaming. I got your questions, and here's your answers. My journey started with Command & Conquer Red Alert. I never really liked the Tiberium version. I was more of a history buff as a child, so World War II always interested me, and the Command & Conquer Red Alert was the alternate timeline, and I found it to be really cool.
Now, RTS games for me, such a broad variety of stuff that you can do in RTS games, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I do love it, because a lot of games offer you the choice of, you know, total annihilation, where you just go in and absolutely destroy everything, completely flatten all the army that you're up against, or some offer like capture points, like, you know, Dawn of War games. Some of those modes were like, well, as long as you capture and hold these points, which sets up for great environments. Like when you've got to defend the new Company of Heroes game, Company of Heroes 3. I think the campaign was really good with them, where, you know, you had the player, you know, the characters moving on the map to different points, and then it broke it down into the RTS game and allows you to build your armies. I love stuff like that. I love being able to just build an army the way you want to build it and go and take it on, and having different abilities and powers. And I just love that ability to almost do what you want to do, and take control of stuff that, you know, might not ever see in real life, like, you know, Command and Conquer, Dawn of War, stuff like that. I just love RTS games. I think they're brilliant.
It's more of the fact that I like to play God. I got control of these little people, and I get to tell them where to do and what to do and how to do it. And it's more, and as well, it's going into me not being an absolute head case. It's, you have to think about the actual outcome, what you want of each battle. You have to analyze each troop, or combat troop, or medic troop, or assault troop, and understand what their skills are, how their abilities will work in tandem with each other. And you have to sort of be critical thinking and fast thinking as well. It's basically playing chess, but on a game. And I think that's why I love it as well. It helps your mind actually think about what you need to do and how you're going to do it. And that's what I think made me love RTS.
It was a combination of things. At first, I think it was the idea of being involved in the warfare, but not just one part of it, like you were overseeing the whole thing. But I also really enjoyed base building. That extended to like city building games, and you know, it kind of went from there.
The main thing I like about RTS games is you can basically play at your own pace. I'm more of a turtle player on strategy games, whereas some people prefer rushing, but that's a great thing about RTS games. You can play them however you like, at your own pace, and it really appeals to me. One of the things I really like doing is completing all of my tech research, all of my upgrades, slowly building forces and base defenses, and then using all of these powers combined to essentially overwhelm my opponent with just massive superior force.
I look for base building. I love base building, and I also love the unlimited unit creation, where I don't have like a cap. Nothing says I will destroy you like 1,000 rocket soldiers on Command & Conquer Red Alert.
I believe, for me, I think that RTS games are such a niche that if you do try and play against human players, 9 times out of 10 you play against absolute animals at the game that ruin you. So for me, I like to play against the AI, just have a good time, and obviously up the difficulty on the AI once I start getting a bit more comfortable. But then I like playing with friends against the AI as well, so, you know, communicating. And I recently played Company Heroes 3 with a friend of mine over in America, and, you know, we were communicating how to build up our armies and where to attack and what to do. So for me, playing against AI is probably more fun and more up my street.
I would say I prefer against human players, because that is actually, computer AI is never going to be as best as a human. They're very good in standard coding and doing standard strategies, but actual human players, they have faults, and I would say I learn more playing off an actual other person instead of just practicing against AI or practicing against the actual hardboard computer. It's just the fact that you can try different things with computers, or playing a practice match, you can do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, but you'll get the same result. Play against someone else, they will clock onto that pattern and they will just wipe your ass. And then you need to, in that mode of you're trying to figure out why ain't it working no more, you gotta think, right, what can I do that will change this outcome instead of me getting my ass wiped all over the floor? And that's why I actually like playing against people instead of a computer.
It kind of varies. I don't like playing against strangers, really. I'm happy to play against other people. I've played plenty of strategy games against yourself, and I remember quite strongly in high school, Command & Conquer, I think it was Tiberian Wars. I would have skirmishes on that against my friends all night. Zonal Fear was also part of those skirmishes, and that went on for quite some time whilst I was still in high school, staying up till 4 AM playing against people. But I also have no problem playing against the computer, more than happy to play a single player campaign of a good strategy game.
I tend to prefer playing RTS games offline or playing the campaigns of RTS games rather than playing online. With my own RTS playstyle, I prefer to sort of turtle down a little bit, whereas the online scene is mostly people picking the quickest route to basically destroy your enemy, which sometimes makes for quite short games, whereas when I want to start a game, I want to be engrossed in it. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to pick the fastest way to build up the nuke and things like that. I want to take my time and enjoy dismantling my opponent bit by bit. So I tend to avoid online play and play more the campaign than anything else. So that way I can play at my own pace and exactly how I like, not how I have to play to counter the rush builders on the online. I do play RTS games online with some close friends where we set in some rules at the start of the game, so things like 20-minute build time and things like that. So I'm no stranger to playing these games online, but that is really only with friends. When I want to play an RTS game the way I want to play it, I mostly play offline on the campaign or something like that.
Me personally, I prefer to play against the computer. But I am not opposed to playing against people. I've never really been a huge PvP player outside of Battlefield multiplayer. I've been more of the PvE player. With exploits and all that, people tend to ruin the experience. That's the only reason why.
As I say, I think it's probably a niche, and I think as bad as it sounds, the up-and-coming generation of people that play video games are probably more interested in your Fortnite, your Call of Duty, getting skins in games and that sort of game, rather than the thinking that goes behind RTS games. It's not just a case of, I can run and go and kill that guy. You have to think, especially with the Cossacks game I was just mentioning there. If you send your horses into a load of pikemen, then you're going to get destroyed. So you have to think about it. And I think that a lot of the time nowadays, it's just a case of, I can shoot and click and run and get skins and colourfuls and all that stuff. Whereas the games that require you to have a little bit of thinking and a little bit of what do I need to do, that niche, and I think that kind of generation of player just doesn't exist anymore, which is a shame because I absolutely love RTS games.
It's because it's not fast paced. That's the reason, I would say, to me as a gamer itself, and seeing these young gamers play the games that they play. You don't really see a flipping 12-year-old play flipping Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War, or Dawn of War 2, or Dawn of War 3, or Total Warhammer, or even old school Halo Wars, or flipping, sort of RuneScape, any sort of older games, this called now retro games nowadays, just because of you have to analyze every situation. So RTS games have to be good at critical thinking, self-analysis. You have to sort of think on your feet at the same time, so you can't just go as fast-paced. You have to analyze the whole situation. Like I said earlier, it's a game of chess, and some kids do like chess, but the younger generation now, I would say, prefers more fast-paced Call of Duty shooters, first-person shooters, Fortnite, and stuff like that. From my point of view, they don't really like seeing games like that because it doesn't fill them with dopamine as much. They're not seeing the action head on. They're seeing it bird's eye view from further away. They're not actually in the nitty gritty, but that's where RTS games shine. You can imagine yourself being each troop. That's what I kind of think the younger generation don't really like RTS games, because it's more delving into your imagination instead of just right there on your screen.
Popularity is something I don't think strategy games have ever really had going for them. It always seemed a bit of a niche genre of games. I know that, say, going back to my previous answer, in high school, most of the people I knew played Call of Duty or FIFA. There was only me and a small group of people that I knew that would still play strategy games. I'm a fan of real-time strategy games, turn-based. I love the Total War series, and I think they don't get as much press as other games. They don't get as much just general attention, really, and I guess, like I say, they're just a bit of a niche game.
I think the reason for RTS games being less popular than they used to be now are twofold, with the main reason being that we actually haven't had a very good RTS game for a little while now, at least a mainstream RTS game like Command & Conquer, so that kind of keeps the RTS genre out of the spotlight. It's been a good 13-14 years since Command & Conquer 3, and there's not really been anything that's kind of matched it since, really. So I think that that's one of the main reasons why RTS games aren't as popular anymore. Another thing, and I think this is to a lesser degree, is that there are a lot more games out now where the gratification is instant, the rewards are delivered immediately, and that's not really what RTS games are about. And in a society that's leaning towards that instant gratification rather than the slow march of progress, I think that that also has put some people off playing RTS games as well.
From my point of view, it is not that they're not popular anymore. Outside of, let's say, Paradox Studios, who does a lot of good RTS games, most AAA companies have ruined most of their franchises in all of their game genres. So while the majority of young folks go to like Call of Duty and Fortnite, all of us 1990s and early 2000s gamers who grew up with RTS did not like the direction AAA was taking the genre, which is kind of why it died off from my point of view.
Now this one, it was a difficult one for me because I love so many RTS games, you know, Company Heroes, Command & Conquer, Cossacks, Dawn of War. There's just absolutely loads out there, but the one I remember spending a lot of time on and most time, and if I could still play it now without a disc I would do, is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, so that just helps massively, but I love the fact that you can control different heroes and they give you powers in the game, and obviously the different armies, so you've got, you know, your goblins, your men, your elves, everything like that, the Uruk-hai. It's all such a great game, and everything combines really nicely to it. The game plays really smoothly, and I think for me it's just my favourite RTS that I go back to. And as I say, if I had the chance to play, I hope, fingers crossed, that they do a remake for it, but I think that's long gone considering it came out in 2006. But yeah, that's my favourite RTS game.
It would be the first game I ever played would be Halo Wars, because that's the game that kicked my addiction into gear. If I didn't see Halo Wars when I was 12 years old at my best mate's house in his bedroom flipping, instead of playing, I think it was Dead Island, original Dead Island, he showed me that game. If it wasn't for him doing that, I don't think I would have discovered RTS back then and fell in love with it the way I did.
My favourite RTS game of all time has to be Command & Conquer 3 Tiberian Wars and the expansion Kane's Wrath, just for the amount of time I put into it and the memories associated with it. Like I said earlier, in high school, played it all the time until the early hours of the morning, and it was just such good fun. Had just as much fun on plenty of other games, but I think it's more of a nostalgia reason.
What is my favourite RTS game of all time? That's a difficult one. They are all based around Command & Conquer, but I think that if I was put on the spot like I am now and really had to choose, I think I would probably say Command & Conquer 3 Kane's Wrath is certainly my favourite RTS game. Maybe not necessarily for all of the gameplay and features and things like that, but I've got good memories of playing that game online with friends, and I think that if I was to name that my favourite RTS game, that would be the one.
For me, hands down, it's Command & Conquer Generals and the expansion pack, 0 Hour. I was sad when they canceled the sequel to Generals, but on the flip side, I am also glad they did, as I'm sure EA would have ruined it like they ruined the rest of their franchises. So, there you go. Right straight from the horse's mouth, this is Captain Ruggles Gaming. See you on the battlefield.
Why you got time?